Welcome to the American Outdoor News Podcast. We're here with Matt Bogaslawski from the Dallas Safari Club Hunters Care Program. How you doing, Matt? Thanks for taking your time today.
Oh, very good, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Now, the Hunters Care Program is a conservation program created by Dallas Safari Club.
Yes, sir. So Hunters Care, the care standing for COVID anti-poaching relief effort.
Okay.
So kind of one of the big issues that have been going on, obviously, with COVID happening, and given that a lot of anti-poaching efforts and conservation efforts are funded through hunters' dollars going over to Africa, and with the COVID pandemic happening, people can't travel over. So a lot of hunts and safaris have been postponed or canceled, leading to obviously a decrease in available revenue for people to spend on things like anti-poaching. So their fights, boots on the ground, didn't go away with COVID. It's actually just increased. So DSC and the foundation put together this care program where people can apply, or people can go directly to the foundation and direct funds towards the operator or program of their choice.
Okay, so how much revenue has been raised for this program so far?
Well, combined efforts between DSC and the foundation is several $100,000, and we're looking at to date. I would have to crunch because we did some more grants today, but we're looking at close to over 17 million acres of habitat that we've secured.
Wow!
During this time, so it's a very relevant amount. We're maintaining, I think, over 400 anti-poaching scouts, and when you kind of look at the economic multiplier of, let's say, 4.5 people per household relying on that one person, it just grows and grows pretty much.
Now, is this centralized in one particular country, or is it spread out across several?
It's right now we're in 7 countries. So Zimbabwe, Zambia, South Africa, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Mozambique. So, but
Wow.
Applications are still coming in, and I think there's this. It's going to continue on. We don't have any. We know that even as hunting kind of resumes, maybe later in the year, that doesn't exactly mean that the problem is solved. So we plan on keeping the program up and running for quite some time, and as people need help and assistance, or if particular clients want to support, we'll be able to be there to provide them that avenue.
Now, COVID has really hit everybody financially, but I would think more significantly to areas that rely specifically on tourism or hunting, or guides and outfitters must have suffered a significant loss during this pandemic.
They sure have. It's really interesting because I was actually in Botswana when everything was taking off, and I got the last flight out. So it was interesting while I was there. I saw a lot of the photographic operations just kind of close camps and fire everybody, but all the hunting operators maintained all their employees, maybe laid off a few people, or kind of did 50-50 or decreased pay. But I think that's just kind of the commitment that a lot of the hunting operators that you'll see across the board, and really everybody that I visited with, they said, I've put, let's say, 20 years into this area. I'm not going to let it kind of go to shambles just because of this and this difficult times. So it's their commitment to conservation is ever present and clear.
Now, tell me a little bit about the anti-poaching that this fund is sponsoring.
Mm-hmm. So,
what is their main job?
Well, as in anti-poaching operations, one of the biggest thing is to maintain a presence. So you're going to be looking at people, boots on the ground. They're either going to be doing walking patrols, or they're going to be working in collaboration with a vehicle that's going around and maybe cutting tracks and everything. And when they find them, they'll maybe release the dogs, or they'll put the guys on the tracks and let them go. And then the truck will go around and try and get ahead of them. And, also, it's not, quote unquote, the sexiest thing, but walking through the bush and picking up snares, because, snares are one of the most indiscriminate killers. They are the most indiscriminate killers out there, and gin traps. So, if you find a snare line with 100 snares, that's equivalent to 100 bullets, in my opinion. So, but Sure. The only thing is that a snare, once it's caught something, they can go and reuse it. Once you spend that shell, it's done. So.
So they're getting a little more creative as time goes on, how they're going to poach these animals.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you'll see. The poachers really know what they're doing. A lot of these are criminal syndicates that are well versed, especially when you're dealing with ivory and rhino poachers, and more in terms of you do have people who are trying to do subsistence, and that does happen. So you try and work with them and maybe employ them and say you don't have to do this, or where's your village? Let me help and go out to you guys and help, so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, they know which way the animals are moving, so you'll see a lot of snare lines going toward, if there's, let's say, a little farm or something, and the animals like to get in there, they're going to set a snare line, or they can do it towards a water hole or something. And, the other fear is kind of as crops and property becomes extra important because resources are limited, is human-wildlife conflict and people retaliating against wildlife. So it's really extra important for the operators and the anti-poaching teams to be boots on the ground. So, for example, if elephants come and raid a crop field, they don't go and try and poison them, for example, right? It's just working with the communities and making sure that they still see a value in wildlife, and that the hunting operators are also there and understand these are challenging times. So, yeah.
So since this program began, you've created 400 plus jobs in 4 or 5 months?
Well, maintaining them. So that was the kind of biggest thing, just maintaining jobs. And even, a couple of the people that I've spoken with, they did have to lay off a couple people, but they said, listen, you guys are back in business. So they did, maintaining those jobs. And then, like I said, it's close to 16 million or over 17 million acres secured across 7 different countries. So it's having a big impact, and we're really proud of it.
That's significant. That's a big number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how many people on our side of the pond are involved with running this program?
Well, so we have a committee comprised of the DSC, of DSC board members, and then really it's myself and Corey Mason, the DSC executive director, that are, overlooking at doing all the wire transfers, vetting people, and so on and so forth. And we provide our recommendations and operations kind of procedures to the committee for them to kind of finalize it. And that's on the DSC side of things. And like I said, there's also the foundation. What the DSC Foundation is doing is so people are able to make a 100% pass through to the operator of their choice, or provided to our general Hunters Care Fund, where we will expeditiously kind of put the money, boots on the ground quickly. That's 100% pass through, and people are able to direct it and then get a tax donation for it. So it's kind of a benefit for those in the U.S. Obviously, they would like to send money to the people who they want to support, but here at least they get a tax deduction, and they don't have to really worry super hard about the processing wires and everything. They can just jump on our website and do it.
And is any of that planned for other countries aside from the African nations? I know there's a big misconception that Dallas Safari Club is just supporting safaris, but it's probably one of the largest conservation groups in the world. They cover conservation here in the U.S. as well as overseas.
Yes, sir. So this is aimed primarily at Africa, and not that there aren't issues and challenges, but let's say you're an operator in Canada, somewhere like that, and maybe you didn't have any clients in this year, but overwhelmingly when you come back into your area in next season, your game is still going to be there. All of your timber wouldn't have been cut down, and so on and so forth. Really, the poverty levels in the situation in Africa is very difficult, where you're literally keeping people at bay from to mitigate poaching and so on and so forth. So I used to be a professional hunter, and I did quite a bit of anti-poaching in my day. You can, within 2 months, you can lose an entire area, and it'll take 10 years to rebuild. So our kind of aim was let's make sure things are up and running and still operational, and let's get these people through these trying times and see it forward. But we have been visiting, and from a DSC and our advocacy side, we've been working with all of the U.S. professional hunter organizations and our exhibitors and our supporters and our sponsors, and working with our other partners like Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation. So if there's an issue, is let's make sure the hunting seasons remain open. This is how we're going to do hunting, responsible recreation and so on and so forth. So our more initiative on the U.S. side is to, maintain access and make sure that hunting seasons remain open. Because, I think that we're at like 3 months right now and people are starting to go loony a little bit. So let's get them outdoors. Let's make sure they can get out there, even as simple as be able to go out to your gun club or whatever it is. Or if you want to hike or canoe, just keep the outdoors open. Let's be smart about it. And that's what we've been pushing more on the U.S. front of things.
Well, I speak to a lot of people, and I know a lot of people that plan a yearly trip, or they have a TV show, or they have a video blog. A lot of their destination hunts are canceled. They're on hold. And there's a huge ripple effect with that, not just overseas with the outfitters. It's the retailer, there's a whole ripple effect with it.
No, it's tremendous. I mean, the impacts that, the tourism and the hunting industry, using Africa as an example, when I was in Botswana now before I left and COVID started shutting down and flights stopped coming in and so on and so forth. I was in Maun, which is a tourist hub. It's right in the southern part of the Okavango Delta. So a World Heritage site and everything like that. And they do have hunting, but the overwhelming amount of tourists that come in there are photographic. But when that shut down, I mean, you saw a ghost town. Literally happen. So, they need to be able to, the butcheries, they need meat in camp. They need Coca-Cola in camp. They need gasoline. They need to buy equipment, so on and so forth. And you can use Arusha in Tanzania. You can use Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, Windhoek in Namibia, and keep on going. Tourism is such a huge player. And in a lot of these countries, it's the, number one, top 3 economic GDP producer for their country. So it's not just tourism. No, this is their lifeblood.
Now, is there a specific area that's been hit harder than others?
I think the impact is really hit hard across the board. I think, now, Tanzania's hunting season opens tomorrow, and it looks like they were able to contain things fairly well. So, and they worked well with the government for them to be able to open and everything. And the hunting season starts tomorrow. I know several Americans who, got on flights yesterday and the day before and are flying over to start their hunt. So that's obviously great for them. And now it's just very kind of a country by country approach. One of the countries that always breaks my heart, Zimbabwe, is one of my favorite places in the world. And they've just over the last few decades had a lot of challenges. And this has definitely been an added burden on them. This is, things are starting to look promising and so on and so forth. It was kind of a kick for them.
Well, I know most of the positions for on the DSC side are volunteer positions. So a lot of people in the organization are donating their time to preserve our future as far as outdoorsmen, sportsmen.
No, definitely. DSC wouldn't be what it is without our volunteers. We call them the DSC 100, and that's what it started as, but it's actually, I think we're like the DSC 470 by now. And, the time and effort and energy that they contribute to the club in terms of convention and a dozen other aspects. Even right now as we speak, convention planning is going on and those committees are blowing and going. And, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without the funds raised at convention. So each one of our volunteers and even each one of our staff members, whether they have anything kind of to do in terms of policy or so on and so forth, I tell them, and Corey and I tell them, you make conservation happen. So it's really important. And I think it's a unique aspect of DSC because it really, I think, drives home a very kind of unique bond with our membership and our volunteers to the organization that they're so committed and endeavored to it.
Well, I know the Dallas Safari Club convention is a huge part of their revenue source every year. Is that still going to be happening this year, or it's day by day?
Well, the convention would be early next year. Right now, dates are January 7 to 11, and we're planning convention, so we plan on it happening. And unless Governor Abbott says that's not happening, then there we go. But we're planning for a convention. Obviously, we're going to be taking in all the safety considerations and anything that gets put off in the CDC and other specialists and whatnot into consideration, and making sure they're implemented to have the safest convention and everything that we can. But I can assure you and rest assured that we're having a convention unless they block us from the convention hall.
Well, I plan on being there as usual. And
great.
It's been growing exponentially over the past few years, which is fantastic to see. Mm-hmm. Is there anything new planned for this year that we should keep our eyes open for?
A bigger and a better, it's going to be different, but we're gunning for a bigger and a better convention every year. Kind of surprises. We want you all to get there and to see it. And I hope everybody does come out. But you, like you said, you've been there plenty of times, but I encourage everybody to come. There's an incredible energy in the hall when you get there that I don't think you see at a lot of other big trade shows and everything. So I would just encourage everybody to come out and have a good time, bring the kids, expose them to the outdoors and do a little bit of shopping for yourself. And there you go.
Yeah, it's just an excitement in the air when you go in there. It's not just the outfitters and the taxidermy. There's naturalists, there are art, there are carvings, there's sculptures, there's all kinds of things going on there. And there's always something new to see. And it's always very exciting for me. I always love going to the show.
No, definitely. It's great. We got the whole right side of the convention hall is all the rifles and the custom gun makers and so on and so forth. And one of the greatest things is there's just this feeling that you can walk up to anybody there in the convention center and strike up a conversation with them, and you're going to have something in common with them and you'll be able to get along. So,
yeah, everybody has that common thread. Just being at the convention, we're all there for a common cause.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, where can we make a donation? Where can we find the care program? And how do we donate?
Yes, sir. So if you can jump on the DSCF website, which is dscf.org, and on the homepage in the top right, you'll see a Hunter's Care logo. COVID-19 Response Fund, Relief Fund. You can click on there, and there's kind of the credit card application form, not application form, but the payment form. Mm-hmm. And if there's a particular operator or outfitter that you'd like to support, at the very bottom, there's a place that you can designate it. And on there's contact information for Richard Cheatham, the DSC Foundation Executive Director. If you have any questions, you can call our number or give him an email, and we'll be happy to help you in any way, shape, or form. If you don't want to do by credit card, or if you just want to learn more about it, that's what we're here for.
And that's our show for today. Thanks again for watching our American Outdoor News podcast. You could always go to AmericanOutdoorNews.com for more great interviews and stories. And remember, whether you're hunting the plains of Africa, hiking the Appalachian Trail, or fishing the Sea of Cortez, American Outdoor News has it covered. Thanks again.